For Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated, I'm Brendan Gulick along with Brett Hiltbrand, getting ready for the final act of the regular season, which is kind of crazy to say. It's the beginning of March. It's the first Saturday in March. March Madness is finally here. And because it is the final game of the regular season and there is something on the line, it does feel like March Madness may have come just a little bit early. Previewing Ohio State and Illinois, yet another top 10 matchup that the Buckeyes are playing in. Although this time Ohio State has fallen a bit in the rankings, now to number 7 in the AP poll after 3 consecutive losses to Michigan, Michigan State, and to Iowa. And Brett, this is obviously not the way Ohio State wanted to close the season on a 3-game losing streak against a really, really good team who absolutely has a case for one of the remaining number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. You can probably lock up Gonzaga, Michigan, and Baylor in 3 of those 4. Ohio State with a win could, I think, still maybe get a 1 seed. We can talk about that. But you can make an argument Illinois is in the driver's seat right now. They've won 10 of 11. They are awfully hot, and certainly a team that's going to give Ohio State a pretty tough run on Saturday. Absolutely.
You're going to expect their best shot because it's probably the most important game of the year for both them and Ohio State. And, you talk about that one, that final remaining number 1 seed, the 4th 1 seed. I mean, you could look at maybe 4 or 5 different teams that are trying to kind of steal that last spot. So, it's everything to play for. And especially, I think, in an Illinois team that is really trying to finish strong so that they kind of, make their way towards peaking at the perfect time. They don't want to hiccup. They don't, another learning experience kind of defeat is not really in the cards for this team. Brad Underwood is going to have them really, really fired up and ready to go from really the first minute on.
I mean, look, they've got 2 guys on this team that are lottery pick potential in Ayo Dosunmu and in Kofi Cockburn. Cockburn, we have no reason to think that Coburn's not going to play. Ayo Dosunmu hasn't played since the Michigan State loss that they had a couple weeks ago on February 23rd with what's being called a facial injury. That sounds like a nice way of protecting the fact he got his nose banged pretty good. Look, when Dosunmu's on the floor, I think you could very easily make the case that he's the best transition guard in the country. When he's out there, they can get up and go really fast. And that has bothered Ohio State at times this year, although the Buckeyes typically lately in the Big Ten haven't played against too many teams that want to get into a track meet. There's been a lot more half-court offense this year. No. So I'm not as concerned about if Dosunmu plays, about him just running away from Ohio State. But he certainly had a terrific second half in the first meeting. The Buckeyes back on January 16th, beat Illinois by 6, 87-81 in a great game. And frankly, that might have been the game to me that made me think, okay, this Ohio State team is for real. They had a couple of good wins prior to that, certainly started turning the corner in early January, but beating Illinois at Illinois, for me, that was kind of the moment where the light bulb went off and I said, okay, this team is showing that they can really, really go at it with some of the best teams in the country. And while Illinois had faltered a bit there, now they've won 10 and 11, and they look like a national championship caliber team again.
Absolutely. And I think you could circle that Ohio State game as probably the starting point for really the avalanche that they went on, through the back, last month, 2 months of the season. Even though I think they followed the Illinois game up with a loss to Purdue. But so, maybe a little bit of a hangover there from the first game. But you're absolutely right about it. It felt like that was kind of like the Ohio State at their best, playing up to, and maxing out the potential. And then they were able to, really go on a nice run there. And then we've kind of seen the pendulum swing back to the other side of the spectrum, right? These last 3 games. Play okay against Michigan and just get beat. Then you have a probably bad loss against a Michigan State team that you maybe had 3 helpers and stripes on the court in that one. And then you just get your butt kicked against Iowa. And I think that in some ways, I think if you're Chris Holtmann, you're looking at this game right now, and you're kind of wondering, okay, this is an opportunity to really see, like, where's our team's, like, kind of like grit level here, because they have to win this game. Quite frankly, they absolutely have to win this game to ensure any hopes of a 1 seed whatsoever. And they know that they're going to get their best shot from a team that might be as good, if not better, than them. So, and on top of that, you've been playing poorly for the last 2 weeks. You finally got some time off, which I think is maybe what Ohio State needed more than anything else, which was a handful of days off after that Illinois defeat to kind of get some recovery, get these guys up off their feet, and rest a little bit. We're going to see how well that paid off against the Illini, but I think it's one of those situations where I think this game is probably one of those ones where when we kind of look at Ohio State's tournament run, whatever that ends up looking like, I think we're going to be able to look back at this Illinois game and go, that's either where they got it really right or they got it wrong. And I think we're going to be able to kind of look back and go, that's what was the best indication of what the tournament was going to be for Ohio State.
There is you made a couple of points there I want to expound on. Certainly one of them, the rest leading up. This is just the way the schedule has shaken out. This actually is the first bye week, like full week off of games that Ohio State, I think, has had all year. And it just happens to be the last portion of a ridiculously difficult end of the season here. Obviously came at an extremely needed time, and I hope that is helpful coming down the stretch, because the Buckeyes have probably played themselves out of a double bye in the Big Ten tournament, even before a potential number 1 seed. It's not impossible that they finish in the top 4. They need to beat Illinois and get some help. It is still mathematically possible for the Buckeyes to get a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. But now, we have considered Ohio State to be among the best teams in the league all season long. And they are potentially facing now having to win the Big Ten tournament by winning 4 games in 4 successive days. Well, considering how beat up this team has been, that doesn't seem like a great recipe, considering that however the bracket shakes out, you're going to play a really tough physical team each night you go out there. So the potential to miss out on a double bye really hurts. But I think Ohio State has to approach this game with the intention of, if they win and take care of their own business on Saturday and they get the appropriate help, that's something that they can only control the game in front of them. Can't get wrapped up in the fact that, all of a sudden Purdue has leapfrogged the Buckeyes in the standings. As it pertains to a number 1 seed, again, I think no matter where Ohio State is seated in the tournament, even if it's not a 1 seed, and I think at this point you could make a stronger case for them as a 2 seed than as a 1 seed. Not saying it's not possible, just trying to be realistic. I think Ohio State is more likely to be a 2 seed. But if they beat Illinois, you could make that argument for sure for them to be a 1 seed. Look, whether they're a 1, a 2, or a 3, they're probably going to get pretty favorable matchups in the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. And the chances of them having, a good chance at making a run, I would think that those chances are pretty high. It's hard not to get wrapped up in all that stuff this time of year because it's on the forefront of everybody's mind. March Madness is what college basketball fans live for. And it's literally here, right? Selection Sunday is coming 1 week and 1 day after Ohio State wraps up this regular season finale. But I think they have to try to go out and not focus on that, because if they don't beat Illinois, then they go to the conference tournament off 4 straight losses, and that is not a great taste in your mouth going into the end of the year.
No, it's not. And I think if you're Ohio State, yeah, I can make the argument that losing early in the tournament is actually better for them because of rest. And then you're going into the tournament with 5 straight defeats, or maybe you win one and then lose the next round. But you're losing, 5 of your last 6 at best case scenario in that specific kind of idea. But it's if the we're sports media people, we hate the cliches, but in some ways the one game at a time cliche, I think, truly applies to this Ohio State team right now, right? Like they are kind of mini one game seasons for these very specific goals that you are trying to set, you're setting and trying to accomplish, because each one kind of feeds into the other, right? You beat Illinois, you might get a little bit more rest in the Big Ten tournament, which aids your path to making a run into conference tournament, while also checking that box of a little bit added rest. It also means you broke the duck, so to speak. You've negated the losing streak. You beat another quad one excellent team, and then all of that is just kind of momentum, positive momentum, going into then the opening round of the tournament. And I think it's very easy in some ways, especially in college basketball, but I think it's exceptionally true this season. It's very easy to let like one defeat turn into 2. I think or 3. We've seen that. I think you would absolutely say that with the Michigan game, and then the letdown that Ohio State had against Sparty. Like, I mean, that they just were absolutely dead on their feet, and then you come into Iowa the next game, and with the exception, I think, of like the first 2.5 minutes of the second half, Ohio State looked absolutely gassed in that game. I think we had someone come in and comment on one of the most recent videos we did a couple of weeks ago, and they thought that it was the Ohio State-Michigan game, and they said that we were talking about whether or not we thought Ohio State looked tired. And I think the person said, "Oh yeah, it looked like Michigan was way more tired." Well, I think we've proven that to be kind of the opposite, right? That Ohio State was absolutely on their last legs, and I think the results of the last 3 games are probably a pretty good indication of that. Now is an opportunity, though, for them to put that behind them and go out and get another massive win to try and put a stop to all that negativity, all that really bad juju, and then kind of restart, maybe kickstart a run that where that this team is capable of going on.
Let's talk about the 2 seniors for a minute. CJ Walker obviously didn't start his career at Ohio State. Had a successful start at Florida State before transferring north. And then Kyle Young, who's, been a Buckeye his entire career after originally committing to Butler. By now you've probably know the story. He was recruited by Chris Holtmann and his staff at Butler. And then when Holtmann and staff came to Ohio State, they brought Kyle Young with them. Kyle Young's going to make an NCAA tournament every year. I think Chris Holtmann is counting the fact that, the Buckeyes were going to be in the NCAA tournament last year. And Kyle is, in Chris Holtmann's words earlier today, only the 12th player in the history of Ohio State basketball to play in 4 NCAA tournaments over a 4-year stretch. It certainly speaks to the quality of the program right now, but it also speaks to the quality of the player that Kyle Young is. And frankly, when he wasn't on the floor a couple games back, this team really, really missed his energy. And I'm not sure there's another player on this team that, regardless of the stats they put up, I don't think there's another player on this team that has the same level of tenacity and mental impact on the fierceness that these guys play with the way Kyle Young does. He just sets a different level of energy and tempo and competitive nature that you need in this Big Ten league for sure. Kyle's a real deal. And, look, I don't think anybody's looking at him thinking right now that he's a surefire NBA prospect. Not sure he has the size to play at that level, but, I know the Buckeyes absolutely want him on the floor whether he's been 100% or not, he's given a heck of an effort to this team this year. He's been great. And CJ Walker is as calm a leader as Ohio State has ever had. Certainly under Chris Holtmann's tenure, I think that's probably fair to say. They love what he gives them. And Chris Holtmann said today what CJ didn't say yesterday. We're shooting this the day before the game, by the way. Chris Holtmann said today that CJ is definitely going to turn pro. CJ wasn't willing to say that publicly yesterday, but I think a lot of folks probably assumed that was probably coming. Kyle Young has not yet made a decision. There's a chance that he could take Ohio State up and the NCAA up on their extra year of eligibility. So maybe Kyle Young does come back for another year. But in the meantime, those two seniors have meant everything to this team this year. And considering what this group and what this last 12 months have put college basketball through, having guys with that level of leadership has been really important. Yeah, you're right. And on top of that, I think their importance increases here at this time of the year for a couple of reasons. Obviously, Kyle is the tone setter for this team, and his ability to kind of be steady on both ends of the floor, no matter at what pace that they're playing in, no matter what the tempo is, he seems to really be a guy who's able to, kind of plug all the gaps a little bit, and that's his versatility, and that's a credit to him. And guys like that are absolutely massive come tournament time, because how many times have we seen over the years, an offensive rebound or and then a putback, where that makes all the difference, or a really good trap by a big man, in the, just after the ball crosses half court, those little moments, post defense, backside steal, that kind of thing. Those little things, those little plays can make a huge difference come tournament time. And we know Kyle Young is the guy capable of making them. CJ Walker is just as important too, for a different reason, in that the NCAA tournament at times requires guards to go out and find a shot to make something happen. And I would say when it comes to attacking the basket, CJ Walker is probably the best guy Ohio State has. You can maybe make the argument that Dwayne Washington's better. And obviously Dwayne has a little bit more size. But we saw it a couple different times over the last maybe 3 to 4 weeks. And I would even maybe go as far back as like the last 5 or 6 games. CJ's ability to get to the rim at times, especially late in the shot clock, is a huge asset. And if he's able to do that a couple different times, I would say both in the Illinois game and then beyond, that bodes well for Ohio State and their efficiency come tournament time, which they've been elite all season long, with the exception of these last 3 games. His ability to be able to do that, it frees up other guys, but also it makes him more dangerous. And that's a huge asset. That guard play, that go out and score, that go score kind of mentality, especially from your de facto point guard at times, that's a massive, massive positive for Ohio State. And CJ is going to be a big part of their success in the tournament. Brett and I are continuing to talk about the Ohio State-Illinois game on Saturday, March 6th, 4 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. And actually, I think, just off the top of my head, I think this is the first time Dick Vitale's at a Buckeye game this year. It's Bob Wischusen and Dick Vitale on the broadcast. I can't remember another Dick Vitale broadcast for the Buckeyes, but those are always memorable. So anyways, absolutely. You think he's finally chilled out from partying after the Bucks winning the Super Bowl? Between what happened with the Rays and the Lightning and the Bucks, I think Dick's living his best life right now, and he should. Homeboy's a menace on Twitter right now. Goodness gracious. He's a fun follow on social media right now. That's for sure. What a legend. What a life he's had, by the way. Seriously. Let's talk about that for a second. There has been no one like Dick Vitale in sports broadcasting ever. He is. Yeah. You could maybe make the argument that Lee Corso. The only other guy I would say is maybe Bill Raftery. Yeah, Billy for sure. But I think when you kind of, I would say, they're probably contemporaries, right? But looking at levels of coaching, I think Billy probably has a little bit better of a resume per se. Yeah.
But you want to talk about someone who's been synonymous with everything that we grew up with basketball, that like generations older than us also grew up with this dude.
Yeah.
I mean, on top of having a really remarkable, like legitimate, like basketball coaching and playing career, like unbelievable life, man. And he's not dead. I'm not eulogizing him here, but like he's absolutely crazy. And I know that, like, I think in some ways, there are probably some people in the camp who don't really love his enthusiasm. But I think if you're the type of person that appreciates energy, that he has to be towards the top of your list as far as broadcasters. He's fabulous, and I love the man. Absolutely love the man.
Yeah, I had a chance to see him at a seminar. It was probably 2013 or 2014, a few years back, and it is so easy, even when he's just like often in a corner of the room having a side conversation with somebody. You get a presence and an idea for his energy. What you hear on TV from Dick Vitale is so genuinely Dick Vitale. None of that is an act. He has that much energy and passion for life, and certainly for college basketball. And to me, that's the coolest part about it, because he's not putting an act on to try to entertain you. It's genuinely who he is. I think that's really cool. And I hope Ohio State fans certainly enjoy having him on the call tomorrow.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, where was I going to go? So Michigan wins the regular season championship now by virtue of the winning percentage. And we had talked a little bit a couple weeks ago about the, how would the champion in the league be determined, with an uneven number of games. And I think we've kind of seen that kind of took care of itself, which you sort of hope for, right?
Absolutely. And, were you a little bit worried about that? Kind of
a couple weeks ago, season? Maybe. No, not so much.
To me, like, that's like the nightmare scenario a little bit, is when it gets messy and you're kind of like, when it all shakes out, it's like, what do we, he's like, you almost hope for like there's the anarchist in me a little bit roots for chaos in situations like that. But I think for the sheer sake of like history, right? History.
Sure.
Like, you want it to be succinct and very like clear cut. And obviously it's glad it turned out that way. It's good it turned out that way.
No doubt. I guess I just want to get into, one more thought that's specific to the game tomorrow. I mean, is there anything you're looking in particular from as it pertains to Ohio State in this game? And I guess I'll start and give you a chance to think. I really want to see a better game from Justin Ahrens. He just hasn't been the same the last couple of weeks. He's obviously capable, but he's got to find a way to have a good game going into tournament time, because this team thrived on his hot stretch shooting the basketball. And when I say hot stretch, I mean, like, it lasted for 2 months. It wasn't just, we had a couple of good games, strung into a row here. He's a game changer, and the Buckeyes changed their starting lineup because they needed better productivity from the starting lineup. And CJ Walker, he gives them that, right? CJ was in the starting lineup at the beginning of the year and has basically come off the bench ever since then, because his hand hasn't been perfect all year. But Justin Ahrens is still going to get a chance to play. And, if he shoots it well, to play significant minutes. He can't go 0 for 2 in 16 or 20 minutes of action on Saturday if the Buckeyes are going to win. I genuinely think he's got to play a more important role. So looking forward to seeing more from Justin Ahrens.
Yeah, I think he folds into the biggest point that I was going to make about what we need to see from Ohio State. They just need to shoot it better.
Sure.
Period, point blank, especially from three. And he's probably a big part of the the driving force behind that. I kind of think in some ways when the Ohio State sees shots from him going in, I think it actually lends confidence to the rest of the guys, because it gives a little bit of a safety net there when he's able to throw a couple in. but they just straight up, like you will not make it an NCAA tournament run if you don't shoot more than like 35% from three. Like if you're under 35, you're gonna probably grind your way through to the Sweet 16 and then get whacked in that round. Like it's just gonna happen. So they have to shoot it better. The other thing I would say is try and create a little chaos on defense. I wouldn't mind seeing some wrinkles from Chris Holtmann and trying to create a little bit more chaos, try and speed some teams up, because you know that if you absolutely have to, you can get into track meets with teams. You can get into scoring contests. So if you give up a couple layups, if you get some guys in some bad ISOs, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you feel like you can get out and run a little bit and certainly score. But I would look for some try and increase your opponent turnover rate, and increase your deflections on that end of the floor. Those two things I think lead to instant offense the other way, and I think it on a psychological level, when you're turning teams over and you're getting deflections, that increases your confidence at both ends of the floor. And I think that, to me, is maybe what Ohio State is in need of most right now, is a resumption of that incredible confidence we saw when they were on that amazing run, before these last three defeats.
Well, E.J. Liddell, Kyle Young, and Zed Key for sure are going to have to play an important role, because for as good as Luka Garza is on the offensive end of the floor, Luka's defense is not his strong suit. He's fine, but he's not. I don't think he's an elite defender. I think he's a very good defender. Kofi Cockburn, in my opinion, is just as good on the offensive end as he is on the defensive end of the floor. He is as thick
Absolutely.
and muscular and strong as any big man in America, and there's a reason why he's being talked about as a potential lottery pick.
He's Dwight Howard.
He's massive. He's
Dwight Howard with more length.
Yeah,
literally like that, and like
a great
and
comparison.
probably better ball skills too,
Yeah.
which is crazy to think of.
He's his ceiling is crazy high, and so if the Buckeyes are going to make any sort of hay tomorrow in the paint, they've got to find a way to wear him down a little bit, and I think it's got to be by committee. If it's just Liddell or just Young, maybe not going to be successful. Cockburn had, if I remember correct, I think he had 22 points the last time these two teams met, and look, he's a load. He and Io are right at the top of the scouting report for every team that Illinois plays all year long.
And you could probably wear him down by making Illinois run, and then making them work really hard on offense for every shot. And if you make him run the floor a little bit more maybe than he's used to, and certainly moving him around on defense, I think that bodes well for Ohio State to maybe have a little bit more success when it comes to specifically matching up against him, to try and wear him down a little bit as the game goes on. Make him work.
He had 15 and 11 last time they met. Io DeSunmu at 22. So just wanted to make sure that I clarified that so nobody jumps on me for saying something wrong. So anyways, that's the scoop. If the Buckeyes can't find a way to contain those two guys, it could be a long day tomorrow. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, 4 p.m. tip-off, again, on ESPN, on television. Of course, you can hear it on the Ohio State radio network as well. 97.1 The Fan locally in Columbus. And if you don't live in Columbus but want to listen on the radio, the affiliate list is on ohiostatebuckeyes.com. In the meantime, we'll have you covered with the post-game press conference. We'll have an instant analysis piece after the game is over, just like this. Hope you'll join us live on our YouTube page. You can interact with us on social media as well. And, of course, catch up on anything you might have missed over on BuckeyesNow.com. For Brett Hiltbrand, I'm Brendan Gulick. We'll see you tomorrow from Value City Arena as the Buckeyes host Illinois to wrap up the regular season.